YouTube, what's up? Back again for another fishing video here on Andrew Upshaw Fishing. Guys, today we're talking about the newly released NPFL schedule. Reason this is significant is literally like 3 days ago, 2 or 3 days ago, however long it's been, I interviewed Brad Fuller, the president of NPFL, and man, he pulled a fast one on me. I think he could have, and probably would have been way cooler had he announced a schedule on my show, but just didn't work out that way. But anyways, irregardless, we have the schedule now. And I'll be honest with you. I'm gonna tell you what the schedule is in case you don't know what it is. But the very first tournament is going to be March in Florida, to be determined. That's the only one that we don't really know of yet. Stop 2, Wright-Patman Lake, and that's in Texarkana in April. Let's see. The next one is Lay Lake, May 21 through 23. And that's in Alabama. The next one's in Alabama as well, June 25th through 27th at Logan Martin, where we just came from. St. Lawrence River is in July, the end of July this time though. Stop 6 is Lake George, New York in September, mid to late September. Championship still to be determined. So, that's the schedule. Absolutely had no clue where we were going this year. A lot of times these tournament organizations, they tell one person, and that person tells another person, and that person tells another person. You kind of get it, right? Usually that's how tournament schedules are released. I'm not going to lie to you. This year with NPFL, they kept that thing as close to the vest as I've ever seen a tournament trail keep a schedule. When I say I had no idea where we were going, the only one I felt like we were going back to was St. Lawrence River, and that was it. That was and the only reason I'd heard a rumor that they had signed a couple-year contract with up there, and quite honestly, dude, that was a great fish catching tournament. But let's go through this real quick. Stop 1, anticipation wise, NPFL's been to a couple different fisheries down there in Florida, one being Harris Chain years ago, and then I think it was last year before last, they tried to go to St. Johns River. And that's the 2 that I know of. I wouldn't be shocked if it's either of those 2, and I also wouldn't be shocked if it's not Okeechobee. I think Okeechobee would be a great fit for what the NPFL does. Anticipation-wise, that's kind of where I'm at, and watch what it'll be like Toho or something, or a lake I've never even heard of, which is also cool because if it's a lake we've never heard of, that means it's got some really big ones in it. But if I had to guess, that's out of the 3 places, that's probably where it's going to be. Stop 2, though, Wright-Patman. Wright-Patman in April, late April at that. That is going to be a very interesting tournament. It is finally in Texas. We got a Texas tournament. A tiny bit disappointed that it's not like a Toledo Bend, Rayburn, or any of the other amazing lakes here in Texas. But irregardless, I think it's going to still be a really good tournament. Texas waters are always pretty good. I've been there a few different times. I've been there when it's been absolutely terrible, and I've been there when it's been halfway decent. And quite honestly, if it's one of those terrible ones, it's going to be real bad. But seeing that it's in April, the fish catching, the fish size should be halfway decent, so this should be a good tournament. Stop 3 is Lay Lake, Alabama. And this is in the later part of May. I've been to Lay Lake a bunch of times, not just fishing tournaments. I've fished there a bunch, filmed a bunch of Let's Fish TV episodes there. And it's a really unique place. It's kind of small. I'm not going to lie. It's a pretty small lake, but with 100 boats, it should be very fishable. I fished an open there when it was way more boats than that. So it will be nice to have a little bit smaller field for that particular event. But Lay is a really interesting Coosa River impoundment. We're going there in late May too, so, you got a lot of different things there on the table, whether it be shad spawn, fish deep, fish on docks, fish in grass. You kind of get the point. Logan Martin, just about a month later, I think you're going to see a lot of the same. In fact, I think you're going to see even more fish off the bank, and seeing traditional summertime techniques, whether it be deep cranking, fishing brush piles, ledges, things like that. And don't be surprised if you don't see somebody up there fishing in the grass or in the docks and catch them as well. Stop 5, St. Lawrence River. Don't really know what to think about this one. I love the St. Lawrence River. I've heard a rumor, but nothing has been confirmed yet with a rule or anything. But I've heard a rumor that they are going to make the lake off limits. And the significance behind this is if they go out of Clayton and make the lake off limits, it's going to make it pretty rough, right? I mean, you'll be able to fish up to the lake and things like that. But I'm assuming we're going out of Messina again on the upper end of the river. And so at least it will save my back from running all the way from there out to the ducks. But if they do make the lake off limits, that's going to make it a traditional river event, and which is good too. I don't care. That late part of July, they should be a little bit more fish kind of moving around and not on beds. So it should be a really interesting tournament. I'm not sure. I've been there at the end of July quite a few times. I've actually just been on St. Lawrence River at this point quite a few times. And I mean, it's a fantastic fishery. I'm just curious how it's all going to play out. You always have to wonder. But the whole reason I made this video is for this next lake. Lake George, New York. I'm not going to lie, that's a lie. I was going to say I didn't know this lake existed. I did know it existed because a friend of mine grew up on the lake, and I kind of forgot about it until I saw it, and then I looked at where it was at, and I was like, oh, okay, I know somebody that's fished there before. And let me just paraphrase this. I haven't called that person. I just had heard of it. I have no idea what to expect on this body of water. It's a landlocked lake. It doesn't run by any river or anything like that. And there hasn't, up to my knowledge, there hasn't been a major tournament ever hosted on that particular body of water. So that'll make things extremely interesting. All the information we're going to have is going to be maybe a few YouTube videos, maybe some, club tournament results, and if you happen to know somebody that has fished there or been there or something like that. So it's a little bit different. Absolutely no expectation on what to expect, but I'm going to tell you right now, and you can take this to the bank. If you go to a New York lake, especially in the fall, in September, August, September, that time frame, you are absolutely going to crush on them. I think this is going to be an amazing, maybe one of the best stops of the entire season, just for the simple fact that nobody has seen it yet. I think that's a huge, huge play for the NPFL. I think it's a great tournament lake. I say great. I hadn't even been there, but I think it's great for the fact that there's not I couldn't have put $1 million on the fact that they go to Lake George. And actually, when I first read it, I got really, really excited because I thought they were talking about that lake. I think it's Lake George in Florida, and I was like, oh my God, thank you. But it's not the same one. But it doesn't matter. I mean, it's an exciting time. I love that. There's not many tournament trails, and I'm not even just pumping NPFL, just in general. Like, I've fished for a long time now, like 15 years, traveling the country and things like that. There's not many places in this country I haven't been to yet, or fished a tournament on, or something like that. And so to be able to go to a body of water I've never been to is really, really exciting, because especially one that not everybody's gone to anyway. I mean, like, there's no history on it. So it's truly one of those where you show up, if you figure them out, and it's like the absolute deal, and not everybody figures it out, you're going to destroy everybody. And likewise, if somebody else figures out that deal, whatever it may be, they're going to destroy you as well. So one good thing is it is just south of Lake Champlain. I fish Champlain a lot of times, and all in the forward-facing sonar time frame. So, and at this point, I fished Oneida, Cayuga, what's the other Finger Lake right there next to it? I fished all of those. And then I fished St. Lawrence River, and now I'll be fishing George. So I've been to a bunch of bodies of water in New York, and all of them fish fairly similar. especially if it's like a river system. But those landlocked lakes, guys, I'm going to tell you right now, there's a reason that Cayuga and some of those are so good. And I'm really, really excited to kind of see how this one lays out similarly to those. But overall, what an awesome schedule. I'm excited to see what we have coming up this year. The championship still hasn't been announced, and I'm not really that surprised because they haven't even finished this championship. I fully anticipate the schedule for that is going to come out probably in the next couple weeks and maybe the next couple months. Who knows? But I do think that's really an interesting schedule, and I'm excited to fish it. Hopefully, it lays out fairly well. You know, one of the big complaints this year that I saw on social media a lot was, you know, forward-facing sonar got taken away from the NPFL, and there's a lot of people saying, well, y'all did that, but then y'all just went to a bunch of sight fishing lakes. Well, first off, we did go during the spawn in a lot of lakes. I completely agree with that. But two of the lakes that we went to during the what you consider the spawn on those particular lakes were absolutely flooded and continuing to flood as we're there. So that just kind of knocks that right on out there. That argument or whatever you want to say it is, that's gone. This tournament, this trail that we're on, March in Florida is typically post-spawn. I mean, sometimes you might hit some late spawners, depending on where you're at. Texarkana in April, late April, no spawners. Lake in May, absolutely no spawners. June, Logan Martin, no spawners. St. Lawrence River, that late in July, no spawners. And Lake George, New York in September, 0 spawners. So this is going to be a big test for the NPFL anglers. Fishing, no spawn, no spawning bass. Maybe some, like I said, some post spawners in a couple places, but 0 spawners. And I think that's going to really showcase the anglers. I think it's going to showcase these lakes. And it's going to make them challenging. I'm not going to lie to you guys. Like, when you fish spawn tournaments, they are a little bit easier because you can just go fish the bank. But when you kind of get off that thing, and you got to get off the bank and go fish and try to find some of these needle in the haystacks, it gets a little more difficult. So, overall, great schedule. It is a lot of driving, and I know when I first looked at it, I was like, all right, I'm in Texas. I'm going to drive to Florida. I'm going to drive back to Texas. And then I have a tournament in Texas. And then I go to Alabama and I come home. And then I go to Alabama and I come home. And then I go to New York and come home. And then go to New York and come home. That's a lot of driving. It's definitely more than we had last year. But I really like that it's not, you know, last year we went to like Douglas, Logan, Santee Cooper, and Norman. And then you're like in a 4-state square right there, minus Georgia. And honestly, it really centralized a lot of the tournaments. And so there was a lot of local advantage if you were from that square of places. And you didn't have to travel near as far as a lot of us did. So I'm excited that it is more spread out. Even though there's 2 in New York and 2 in Alabama, there's still not 4 within a 5-hour drive. So I do like that because it does make anglers be more versatile and be able to cover more bodies of water. So, exciting times. I'm excited to get things started. I hope y'all enjoyed this video. I'm going to try to do more, like I always say. Never always happens. But I will try to do more videos. I hope y'all like the NPFL schedule. I know I sure do. And I'll see you on the next video.